March 14th, 1945. 0412 hours. Remagen, Bridgehead, Private, First Class, Leo Kramer, crawls through mud, 20 yards from a burning Sherman, watching a Panzer IV crush. Private Eddie Malone's legs under its left track. Eddie screams for 3 seconds before the gunners silence him. 24 years old, Cleveland welder, 0 tank kills. 41 German Panzers, rolling down that road since midnight. 4 knocked out by artillery, 37 still coming. Last American anti-tank gun blew apart 12 minutes ago. Eddie Malone was the 17th man from Company C, killed in 3 hours. Kramer grabs his welding torch from the ditch. Hands shake. The lieutenant said, "Scrap artist." The sergeant said, "Junk pile." They laughed when he dragged rails from the bombed siding and cut track links from dead tanks. "Nice art project," Private Ruiz had said 30 minutes ago, kicking the first welded ramp. Now Ruiz lies face down 10 yards left, headshot from the Panzer's coaxial. Blood pools under his helmet. Kramer saw it happen. The ramp worked on the first 2 tanks. Tracks sheared. But Eddie went forward to plant a satchel charge and paid for it. The crossroads was death. 2 lanes between bombed houses. 1 culvert left side. Shallow ditch right. Engineers dropped check hedgehogs at midnight. 3 I-beams welded 90 degrees. Manual said 10 seconds to breach with a dozer blade. Kramer knew better. He spent 10 hours daily pre-war welding streetcar frames in Cleveland. Fixed cracked truck axles for city fleet. Learned steel under stress. How 6-inch rise at wrong angle snapped leaf springs. Tanks obeyed same physics. 40 tons, leverage, friction. 3 hours earlier, he pitched it to Lieutenant Hayes. "Hedgehog's too tall. Driver sees, steers around, put ramp where left track runs. Looks like wreck. Climbs, twists, track sheds." Hayes laughed. 2 hours gas left, Kramer. Manual works. Sleep. Kramer built anyway. Cut spare links from burned Sherman 50 yards back. Dragged rail, armor skirt. Welded rail to plate at 15 degrees. Not upright hedgehog. Low ramp like curb. Half links teeth up to catch track. Second rail behind. Step design. Knee high in Sherman shadow. Looked like scrap pile. Rifleman walked past. Private Ruiz kicked it. Scare them to death. Now Ruiz dead. Kramer saw first Panzer hit at 0407. Long barrel identified IV. Right track wall. Left track center line. Climbed ramp. Sparks flew. Driver gunned it. Crack. Pin sheared. Track. Whipped off sprocket. Nose dove crater. Second Panzer 5 seconds back. Sharper right. Higher climb. Front idler overloaded. Bang. Entire section spat off. Blocked street. Third braked. Column jammed. Bazooka hit second hull. Flames. Grenades from windows. But Germans pushed. Eddie Malone ran forward. Satchel charge. Track caught him. Dragged 20 feet. Screams. Then silence. Lieutenant Hayes grabs Kramer's arm. "What did you build?" "Steel wrong angle," Kramer says. Hands still shake. Torch. Weighs 14 pounds empty. Again. Now. Side street. Hayes points culvert. They're turning. Kramer slides ditch. Water soaks pants. Oxygen gauge quarter full. Acetylene half. Rails left. 6 pieces. 8 feet each. Sherman links. 12 cut. He drags first rail. Sparks when torch lights. Blue flame hisses. Germans maneuver. Engine roars side street. Tracks clank cobblestone. He welds rail to plate. 15 degrees. Half-link teeth catch track. Second rail behind. 10 degrees sharper. Step higher. Ugly. Low profile. Culvert shadow hides it. Looks wrecked culvert grate. Torch sputters. Gas low. Private Ruiz's body 15 yards right. Blood trail to helmet. Engine louder. First side street. Panzer appears. OSFH wider tracks. Box turret. Driver sees Hedgehog's main road. Turns sharper. Left track kisses culvert edge. Kramer drops torch. Dives ditch. Watches. Panzer climbs. Rail ramp bites. Sparks longer. Wider track fights. Driver guns. 25 tons torque. Weld holds. Crack louder. Guide teeth snap. Track. Peels backward. Sprocket spins free. Nose slams down. Blocks side street. Second Panzer behind. Brakes late. Rear bumper first hits. Pushes. Slides off ramp into ditch. Right track hangs air. Turret traverses wild. Loader panics. Bazooka team rises. Rocket hits turret ring. Secondary boom. Hatches blow. Crew burns. Lieutenant Hayes stares. How many more can you build? Kramer checks gauges. Oxygen 10%. 3, maybe 4. Radio crackles. Company C to battalion. 2 more Panzers down. Unknown obstacle. Infantry pushing. Hayes grabs radio. It's Kramer. His junk. Static. Then battalion commander. Kramer, the welder. Keep him welding. Send pictures. More engines. Not side street. Main road. Germans clear wrecks. 5th Panzer appears. Dozer blade front. Pushes first wreck. Metal screams. But ramp under first wreck shifts. Exposed. 5th driver slows. Sees ramp. Turret swings ditch. Machine gun chatters. Bullets rake mud inches from Kramer's helmet. Machine gun rounds chewed the ditch edge 3 inches from Kramer's helmet as the 5th Panzer's turret swung toward him. Private Ruiz's body jerked once, twice, 3 times from hits. Blood sprayed across mud. 24 bullets in 5 seconds. Ruiz had been alive 30 seconds ago, dragging ammo to Hayes. Now his helmet spun into ditch water. Kramer pressed face down. Dirt-filled mouth. 5th Panzer had dozer blade. Saw ramp under first wreck. Pushed Sherman aside. Exposed Kramer's welded plate. Driver knew. Advanced slow. Left track climbed bent ramp anyway. 40 tons torque. Weld held. Sprocket tooth snapped. Track whipped off. Number 5 down. Lieutenant Hayes slid beside Kramer. Mud splashed. "Ruiz!" Hayes yelled. No answer. "Your trap got 5. Gas." Kramer checked gauges. Oxygen 8%. Acetylene 12. Hands shook worse now. 2 more. Ugly ones. Hayes keyed radio. Red 3. C actual. 5th down. Ramp exposed. Infantry probing. Static. Battalion. Artillery busy counter battery. Hold crossroads. Send pictures. Panzer 5 smoked. Crew bailed. Bazooka team rose. Rocket hit turret. Boom. Flames. Germans scattered. Sergeant Dwyer crawled up. Machine gun tripod. Scraped mud. Ruiz gone. Build next. Now. Kramer nodded. Eyes burned. Arc flash. Blisters throbbed through gloves. Dragged last rails. Torch sparked. Blue flame hissed. Germans probed alleys. Rifle cracked right. Hayes fired carbine. Keep heads down. Culvert lane. Next. Narrow. Orchard trees. Stone walls. Brick void underneath. Cracked from shells. Infantry tapped earlier. Hollow sound. Panzer 6. Nosed past wall. Turret swung slow. Spotters ahead. Bayonets probed ground. Culvert 6 meters long. 2 wide. Brick stone. Iron grate half gone. Water trickled. Kramer dove inside. Torch clanged wall. Crouched low. Ceiling bulged. Mortar chunks fell. Wiped torch tip. Lit. Hiss louder. Germans 40 yards out. No time perfect, Kramer muttered. Hayes above. What? Watch, Kramer yelled. Cut great bolts. 2. Bent frame up. Jammed angle. Wedged rails under bricks. Left track path. Welds fast. Ugly. Water-grounded arc. Shocks bit fingers. Ignored. Panzer reached crack. Culvert groaned. Brick split. Dust choked air. Rail flexed. Drove into ceiling. Mortar failed. Left roof collapsed. Half-ton earth brick slammed water where Kramer knelt seconds ago. Track. Dropped 30 centimeters. Right held. Hull tilted. Suspension screamed. Hung. Hayes fired vision slit. Sparks. Crew panicked inside. Hung by tracks. Panzer 7 backed away. Saw hole. Smart driver. Reversed. Blocked lane. Kramer crawled out. Mud-soaked. Blisters burst, blood mixed dirt. Oxygen 4%. Dwyer stared whole. Ruiz saw that, would live. Battalion runner arrived, 0742. Mud knees. Kramer. Yes. Captain Rollins with him. Map case. 8 Panzers. Your traps? Wait, helped, Kramer said. Rollins grease pencil. Mobile obstacle section now. Battalion keeps you cutting. Strip rail yard. Wrecked vehicles. Drop where you say. Hayes grinned. Told you, Kramer. Junk works. Kramer glanced gauges. Empty soon. Dust horizon. Tank columns. Probing force done. Real push coming. Need gas, Kramer said. Voice cracked. Throat raw smoke. Coming, Rollins said. How many traps till dark? Kramer looked Ruiz's body. Blood trail helmet. Eddie Malone legs gone. As many as steel lasts. Engines grew. Not probing. Attack. Dust. Thickened. Dozen Panzers. 19 hours started now. Tiger tank crushed foxhole 20 yards from Kramer's position. 3 riflemen screamed as tracks ground bone. Sergeant Dwyer's leg vanished under steel. 2 seconds screaming. Silence. 9 hours fighting. 8 Panzers down. Oxygen 2%. Kramer wiped blood from burst blisters. Hands shook violent. Lieutenant Hayes crouched. Battalion says hold dark. Gas truck stuck. Dwyer dragged himself ditch. Bone jutted white. Finish them. Kramer nodded. Torch flickered. Rails left. 3. 8 feet. Links. 6. First Tiger hit. Warroyd 47. 60 tons, 8-inch tracks. Dozer blade. Pushed wrecks. Exposed ramp. Climbed slow. Wider track. Spread load. Weld stressed. Crack. Plate bent. Track slipped. Reversed clear. Hayes radioed. Tigers flanking. Wall next. Battalion. Improvise. Kramer ran. Torch weak. Wall 12 feet. Stone mortar. Cut rail sharp. Wedged base. Angled track height. Half-links teeth out. Welded fast. Ugly spike. Stone hid. Torch sputtered. Oxygen gone. Dwyer tossed last bottle. Now. Flame hissed. Finished spike. Tiger two-nosed wall. Hit spike. Teeth bit. 50 tons torque. Pin sheared. Nose slammed wall. Turret jammed. Number 9. Tigers backed. Germans adapted. 0932. Panzer IVs. Infantry screens. Probed ramps. Marked lanes. Kramer attic. No gas. Fingers bled gloves. Hayes climbed. Learned tricks. Next. Wrecked Sherman Center. Exposed sprockets. Kramer thermite demo kit. Orange melt. Poured slag teeth gaps. Hardened lock. Panzer. 10-10-15. Marked lane. Climbed Sherman. Sprocket. Met slag. Ground. Teeth locked. Track stalled. Bazooka belly hit. Fireball. Number 10. Gas truck 1203. 2 oxygen. 3 acetylene. Rails fresh. Battalion runner. Scale. Every company Kramer. Rail yard east 13-17. Panthers massing. Kramer built 5 ramps. Escalating steps. Slag teeth. Culvert drops. Wreck holes. Panther 22-17-42. Slag ramp. Sprocket exploded. Number 22. 23-17-58. Culvert. Sank track. Infantry probed 18-19. Missed low spike. Panther 24 followed. Hit slag pocket. Track burst. Number 24. Dark. 18-47. 19 hours. 24 down. Rollins Jeep. 19-03. 37 confirmed. 3 companies. Bridgehead holds. Kramer dropped torch. Metal fused palm. Skin peeled. Did not scream. Hayes clapped. Dwyer saw that. Live. Dwyer moaned ditch. Leg gone. Steel works. Quiet 12 minutes. Engine roared north. Final push. Tiger dozer blade. Flamethrower mount. Last ramp slag melted. Torch empty. Kramer grabbed crowbar. Steel red hot. Last stand. Tiger with flamethrower mount rolled straight at Kramer's last line. Dozer blade down. No more ramps left. 19 hours since first Panzer hit the crossroads. 37 German tanks already stopped across 3 companies. 1 welder still in the mud, holding a crowbar with burned hands because his torch was finally dead. Flames licked from the projector tube, bolted to the Tiger's mantlet as the crew tested the pump. A thin tongue of fire spat 20 feet, then died back, enough to clear cellars, enough to turn ditches into ovens. Lieutenant Hayes lay beside Kramer, cheek pressed into the same cold mud. Hayes's helmet was gone, ripped off by a near miss 10 minutes earlier. Blood from a scalp cut ran down his temple into the corner of his eye. "Any more tricks?" Hayes asked. Kramer flexed his right hand. Skin stuck to the crowbar where molten metal from the dead torch had fused to his palm. When he had dropped the cutter, the red-hot nozzle had branded the handle through his glove. He had not screamed then. No time. Now the pain burned up his arm with every heartbeat. "No gas, no rails," he said. "Only wrecks." They still had those. The last 20 meters of road in front of the Tiger looked like a scrapyard nightmare. 2 Panzer IV hulks lay nose to nose, one at a 40-degree angle after being flipped by a bad ramp. The other half sunk into a shell crater. A Sherman carcass, perched sideways on top of both, its turret blown off and lying in a doorway across the street. Tracks lay piled like thrown chains under all 3. Somewhere under that mess, Kramer's first welded plate was still half attached to the crater lip. The Tiger driver saw a barrier, not a trap. He dropped the dozer blade and advanced in first gear. 60 tons met twisted steel and torn concrete. Wrecks scraped. Metal screamed. The Sherman hull shifted. 1 Panzer moved 6 inches. The Tiger shoved again. Something gave. The whole pile sagged forward like a landslide. Inside a cellar across the street, 2 riflemen clutched a bazooka with no rockets left. They watched the Tiger push their cover toward them. One of them retched into a bucket and wiped his mouth with a shaking sleeve. "We are out," he whispered. "That thing rolls. We die." The Tiger closed to 10 meters from Kramer's ditch. Flames coughed again from the projector. A short burst splashed burning fuel across one of the dead Panzer hulls. Fire climbed blackened paint and ammo stains. Heat hit Kramer's face like an open oven door. He squinted through smoke and studied the German machine, the same way he had studied truck axles and streetcar frames back home. The dozer blade was his enemy and his chance. It was bolted to the lower glacis, with 4 mounting points, each mount tied into the hull with thick steel brackets. The blade itself extended past the tracks on both sides. That meant if one corner dug into something that did not move, the blade could twist. "Blade weak point," Kramer muttered. Hayes turned his head. "What?" "Right corner. We can catch it." Catching 60 tons of moving steel with 1 man and a crowbar sounded insane. But it was the same geometry, scaled up. A lever needed a fulcrum. The road offered one. On the right side of the street, half buried in the rubble of a house wall, a slab of broken granite stuck out at just the right height. If he could jam the crowbar into the gap between the blade's side plate and that stone at the exact moment the Tiger pushed, the load would go into the bracket, not the ground. "Cover me," Kramer said. He rolled out of the ditch before Hayes could answer. Bullets snapped overhead as German infantry behind the tank saw movement. A round tugged at his sleeve and cut a groove in his burned glove. He stumbled, went to a knee, then kept going. 10 meters of broken road lay between the ditch and the granite block. Hot air from the flamethrower's last cough washed over his face. His eyebrows curled. The Tiger clanked forward another meter. The dozer blade chewed into a pile of track links and concrete chunks stacked against the granite. The right corner rode up the slope of debris. For a moment, the blade's side plate cleared the stone. Kramer slammed the crowbar into the gap as hard as his burned hand allowed. The steel bit, the bar wedged between blade and rock. For a heartbeat, Nothing happened. Then 60 tons leaned on a lever. The Tiger kept pushing. The blade tried to go forward. The crowbar could not. The force ripped through the mount. One of the right side brackets failed with a gunshot crack. The blade twisted, its right corner dropping, left corner rising. That uneven load transferred to the hull. The front right corner dug into the crater edge where the Sherman had been stuck. The front left track suddenly had nothing under it. Suspension arms took a load they were not designed for. The Tiger's nose twisted and dropped. The left track climbed partially up the wrecks, then hung. The right track dug dirt and rubble deeper. The hull ended up slanted. The flamethrower tube pointed down into the crater instead of into the ditch. Inside, the crew felt the lurch and heard the crack. The driver swore. The gunner grabbed his controls to correct. Flames spilled as the projector operator bumped his trigger. Burning fuel sprayed into the crater mouth. It coated dead steel and shattered concrete instead of men. A secondary explosion popped when it found old ammunition. Hayes opened up with his carbine, firing not to kill but to keep infantry back. A bar from another position joined in, chattering down the street. The Tiger was not dead. Its main gun still worked. The crew could still back out if they bought time and managed to restart the track. If they had time. "Bazooka!" Hayes shouted. "Empty!" came back from the nearest cellar. "Demo!" someone else yelled, holding up a satchel charge. It was 50 feet away, and 3 seconds of exposure. Kramer did not give a speech. He did math. The Tiger's engine deck now sat lower than it had a moment ago, tilted toward the crater. The rear overhang hung within 5 meters of the ditch. He could reach it. If he could put explosives on the thin horizontal armor over the engine, a blast there could jam everything. He sprinted back to the ditch, grabbed the satchel charge from the private, clutching it like a life preserver, and did not stop moving. The charge weighed 12 pounds, felt like 50 on his burned palm. Fuse already prepped. 30 seconds burn. Hayes caught his sleeve. "You will not make it," he said. "Then do not waste the fuse," Kramer answered. "Light it when I climb." He climbed. The Tiger's rear hull was coated in dust and soot. Handholds were few. He jammed his fingers into whatever gaps he could find and hauled himself up the slanted back plate. His right boot slipped once on an oil smear and he slid 6 inches, skin scraping metal. He tasted blood in his mouth where he bit his tongue. The satchel thumped against his chest. Above him, the engine deck grill waited, a square of steel mesh over the hottest machinery in the tank. Behind him, Hayes flicked his lighter and touched flame to fuse. Sparks jumped. Smoke curled. 30 seconds, he yelled. Plenty, Kramer lied. He reached the engine deck, slammed the satchel down tight against the grill, and jammed the strap through one of the mesh openings to keep it from sliding. He did not have tape or wire. Friction would have to do. He turned to jump. A German infantryman rounded the side of the tank at that exact moment. 20 years old, field gray, rifle already shouldered, barrel rising. For one fraction of a second, both men saw each other at 5 meters. Then training took over. The German fired first. The round hit the edge of the engine deck and ricocheted, spinning into the air over Kramer's shoulder. Kramer's burned hand could not hold a rifle. He had no gun. He had one move left. He kicked. His boot caught the German in the knee. Bone cracked. The soldier fell sideways, rifle clattering. Hayes shot him from the ditch before he hit the ground. Kramer rolled off the Tiger's rear and dropped into the rubble behind it. The fall knocked the wind out of him. The satchel fuse burned toward the detonator above his head. "Down!" someone screamed. The charge went off with a flat, brutal thump. The deck bulged. The engine compartment became shrapnel. The blast overpressure drove through the hull into the fighting compartment, stunning everyone inside. Flames licked from the grill, then blossomed as fuel lines ruptured. The flamethrower operator never touched his trigger again. The Tiger's main gun drooped. Smoke poured from every seam. After 10 seconds, the commander's hatch exploded open, and a blackened figure half emerged, then slid limp down the side, armor blackened, no longer a threat. Number 37. Silence followed in a way that felt wrong. No engine rumble, no track clank, no shouted German orders. Only crackle of fire and the distant thud of artillery miles away on some other sector. The bridgehead was still under shell, but at this crossroads, for the first time in 19 hours, no armored vehicle was moving. Hayes crawled to Kramer's side. "You alive?" he asked. "My hand says no," Kramer answered through clenched teeth. The skin on his palm had stuck to the crowbar and then to the satchel strap. Now it was torn and burned in patches, raw red and white. The medic who arrived 2 minutes later said nothing at first. He just poured water over the burned flesh and started wrapping gauze. "You are done for the day," he said. "Doctor will say you are done for the war." Battalion Jeep rolled up 20 minutes later. Captain Rollins stepped out, uniform stained with mud and sweat. 37 confirmed armored kills, he said without preamble. 3 companies report stopped cold. Divisional intel says whole German regiment failed to reach the bridge because of this crossroads. Corps wants names. "He is Kramer," Hayes said. "From Cleveland, welder." Rollins nodded. "They will make sure everyone knows that," he said. "Someday." Kramer did not care about someday. He watched engineers already moving in, marking wrecks, measuring ramp angles, photographing broken tracks and twisted sprockets. Men who had laughed at his junk 12 hours ago now traced his welds with their fingers, counting beads, sketching layouts. Someone from S3 shouted that all this was going into a field manual. Mobile obstacles, improvised anti-tank traps, lessons learned. A stretcher team lifted Dwyer carefully. The sergeant was pale, sweat shining on his forehead. His right leg ended in a thick bandage above the knee. "Steel works," Dwyer said, voice weak. "Too well," Kramer replied. They loaded both men onto the back of the Jeep. As it bounced away from the crossroads, Kramer looked back once. Wrecked Panzers lined the approaches like mile markers. Some lay on their sides, tracks coiled loose. Others sat nose down in culverts, hulls twisted. All of them had one thing in common. Somewhere under their frozen weight was a piece of scrap metal Kramer's burned hands had held. He closed his eyes. For the first time in 19 hours, he let his head rest against the Jeep's rail and did not fight sleep. Somewhere up the chain, people would turn his ramps and rails into diagrams and percentages. 47% reduction in casualties on armored approaches, 60% fewer anti-tank gun losses, 37 enemy tanks stopped. That was their language. His was simpler. Crowbar, torch, rail, and 19 hours where steel did what one welder told it to, instead of what the enemy wanted.